One of the things that makes me a little bit angry or upset is like when people, for example, here in Singapore that I live, sometimes people make some comments that they don't want their kids to be in Singapore because it's so competitive, it's so hard. The school system is very hard. Working here is not nice because it's very competitive. To what I think, I mean, okay, I guess benefit of the doubt, right? I didn't grow up here, but I find it a little bit odd. They think being in a competitive environment is not a good thing. I mean, I guess it has ups and downs, and when you're a kid, maybe you want to do kid stuff as well. So maybe that part on schooling, I think that schools are not the best on dealing with how kids are. Because, for example, when I went to school, maybe when I was about 10 years old, there was a very popular drug called Ritalin. And because the teachers thought that I had ADHD, you know, and I was not paying attention to the class and I was playing with stuff and I was not having good grades. So it was a thing on during the time. So they were giving Ritalin to every kid. But anyway, the point is not about Ritalin. The point is, I don't think it's normal, natural to have a 10-year-old kid seated in a classroom for 5, 6, 7 hours. I think you should be teaching the kids since young age about nature, bring them outside, show them about trees. Let's say now we have cars, so maybe you can teach them about the rules of walking outside around cars. Maybe you can teach them, if you go to the supermarket, how to behave around adults. Start learning music, start learning arts, maybe a little bit of math. Sure, all of these things, but and play. Be a kid. Play, ride a bike, do sports. Sometimes you need to teach kids when they enter a house, when there's adults, instead of closing themselves down because it's normal, because they're shy, they have to enter, say hi, good morning, maybe shake hands, depending on which country, which culture you are. Maybe you say your name. That's it. You don't need to talk with the adults, but you enter hi, you say hi. When you leave, you say bye, and you know how to say thanks and stuff. I know people say these things are learned at home, but if you spend more time of your life at school, then that's one of the things that you should learn. So anyway, the point of things being competitive, a lot of parts of the world have the opposite problem. Schooling is a joke. Right? They just go there, waste time. The teacher, they don't even care. The curriculum is bad. Some people don't even have the means. So it makes me feel a little bit odd that, I mean, I have been living in many countries. There was a reason why I was able to leave my country, not just by luck, because I was good enough in something that other people they were not. And that's why you have to learn when you're a kid. For example, you have to teach kids that uh, things that you really like, things that are really hard to achieve, things that become hard once you achieve them, once you can do them, once you discover them, it gives you more satisfaction than the things you get for free or that someone give it to you or that they have no effort on it. So saying this, I wanted to talk about, I didn't want to read a lot of books because when you're a kid, you don't want to. Then later on, you start building your own interests. So then you read some books that you find interesting. For example, The Odyssey, that was an interesting book. Another book was Don Quixote de la Mancha, very interesting book. There were a couple of other French books I'm not going to mention here. They're very interesting to read, but when they ask to you to read it at school when you're 8 years old, sometimes they're too advanced. Maybe when you're even 12, it's too advanced. But anyway, if you can make your kids start reading maybe even Harry Potter books or others, maybe your kid prefer music, then help with that. But coming back to the books, a book that I read later on in life while I moved to Romania. So I'm talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula. And this is interesting because the author, Bram Stoker, I think he's from Ireland. He was from Ireland. and he never put a foot in Romania. So he just wrote this book based in stories and around Europe and Eastern Europe, supernatural stuff. A lot of Romanians, they are not very happy with what Dracula has done with the country, specifically Transylvania. I used to live there for a while. It was very nice. One of my good friends lived there. It was awesome time of my life, like just like now, but different. So then this book is pretty cool. So I wanted to read one of my favorite passages. This conversation is between Harker, that is a lawyer summoned by the Count Dracula to his castle, and of course Dracula. So this starts Dracula talking to Mr. Harker, and he says, "You may go anywhere you wish in the castle, except where the doors are locked, where of course you will not wish to go. There is a reason that all things are as they are, and did you see with my eyes and know with my knowledge, you would perhaps better understand." I said I was sure of this, and then he went on, "We are in Transylvania, and Transylvania is not England. Our ways are not your ways, and there shall be to you many strange things. Nay, from what you have told me of your experiences already, you know something of what strange things there may be." And then they keep having like strange conversations and whatnot. But this is a very interesting passage from the book. You can get from this interaction, I mean, other that is, of course, is a fictitious character, the Count Dracula talking to Mr. Harker. It doesn't matter where you go, things are different from where you are from. I mean, I know this is a different example, but that's how it is everywhere you go. And I learned it very early in my work life because I start moving to a different country. And then usually you are the different ones. Usually you are the one who has to, you have to adopt what is happening there. So I did it when I moved to US, I did it when I moved to Europe, when I moved to Asia, when I was traveling around the world. You have to adapt. Of course, if you're a tourist, you just have to behave and follow the rules. But if you want to live there, you should probably start eating their food, talking their language, and do what they do. I mean, if you cannot cope with that, maybe, maybe it's good to live. So yes, I think people in Singapore should be feeling pretty blessed, if you can say the word, that there is a competitive environment. It makes everyone grow. On the other hand, you parents, you should be a little bit more creative with how you educate your kids. Not that I'm an expert again. I know I always do parenting tips here. Let's make it a thing. I guess every episode we're going to say something about it. So, and in this case, would be something like if you think your kids are, I don't know, for example, they are very expensive. You say, oh, don't have kids because having kids is expensive. It's because you are making the kids expensive. For example, people say, oh, you have to pay school, and the school you have to pay tuition. To what I ask, why do you need to pay tuition to? Like if you send your kid to school, they go there to learn. So why they have to go somewhere else to keep learning means that or the school is not doing well, or the kids are not putting enough effort, or let's say the third case is maybe your kid is, I mean, have some learning issues. In most of the cases, is not the case. So that's what I say here to my girls. Like I have never believed in tuitions after school unless there is a specific cases. For example, I went to a French school. I have to do math exams in Spanish. So the terms in French and Spanish are not the same. So we have to take separate classes to learn math in Spanish. I know it sounds weird, but and we thought that it was weird until we understood completely. If we haven't not taken math in Spanish, we will fail the government tests. But coming back to the point, you don't need to put your kids in every single tuition because you want your kids to be A plus students. Is that going to help them in life in the future? Maybe yes, maybe not. It's debatable. I mean, have a paper with good grades. But at the end, what is going to happen is like if you don't have the best grades, it's just maybe going to slow you down. And I can talk it by experience. I was not having the best grades, not even in high school. I have to do twice 1 year in high school. But at the end, I graduated. I think was a good thing that I have to redo 1 year because maybe my level of maturity was not the best. So it was good for maturing to grow as a from a kid to an adult or to a young adult to a teenager. I was not an adult. I was like 15, 16. So I was not an adult. It was a teenager. But at the end, you see, things were not so bad after all. I became a very functional professional that traveled the world and works for different industries. And now I work in one of the most, I would say, demanding industries, that is the technology industry in banking. So don't put a lot of pressure in your kids, because I think some of your parents want your kids to be something that you want them to be, but that doesn't work like that. Let me tell you, because parenting is like a stock market, like it will give you dividends in the future, but you have to take care of it. Like you have to be careful in how you do it. You cannot just put what you want for that kid because they're a different person. Maybe they want to become like dad or mom. That's what I mean. But maybe not. Maybe they don't want to become like their parents. Maybe they want to become engineers and doctors. Maybe they want to become, I don't know, musician, or maybe they want to become writers, or maybe they want to become, I don't know, some different engineer, or maybe they want to do coding, or maybe they want to be a karate instructor. You have to lead them the way, but I mean, you have to tell them that if you keep putting energy and patience and you put love, you will see that you will get the return. You will have good kids, good people in the society. And then that's what it is. Basically, you give something back. And that comes to the point to close today's thoughts. I was recently looking at, and I think I mentioned before, but it happened today again. I was looking at a TikTok video, and there was this lady talking, and she usually say what she thinks about some of the things happening in Singapore, how parents do some things, or how things work here. And then she thinks that people should show their kids, to find a purpose in life. That I think that's correct. That's not wrong, but trying to tell a 13-year-old kid to find their purpose in life is something that they won't understand, because some people get older and or they don't care about a purpose, or they don't understand what a purpose in life is. Most of the people think that life is, I just want to be happy, I'm just looking for happiness. That I think happiness is not the end. Happiness is what happened in the way. You cannot be happy all the time. Let's talk about the yin and the yang. Let's talk about the day and night, because if there's always sun, then you will not appreciate the day, because it's always the day. So trying to explain to kids very young age that they have to have a purpose might be a little bit counterproducing, but I'm sure you can start with something. Like you can help them nurture their passions, the things that they like. Maybe sometimes here and there you have to make them do things that they don't want, because maybe little by little they will find something that they do like. And at the end, I think that when you start maturing, whatever is in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and then you think that you want to find your purpose in life, then that's a good thing. I'm into that. I'm 45 years old, and I think I have been for a while working on my purpose in life. My purpose in life is to leave this world better than when I came here. And I'm not talking about something macro, like if I could be something like Elon Musk or any other. let's say, scientists or public figure that have brought something positive to mankind. That would be great. But I can start with little, like maybe trying to help people around me, try to improve the life of people around me by improving my own. Maybe in your everyday life, you can just talk to people and try to guide them if you see them a little bit lost. Sometimes you just have to listen to what they have to say. In my case, I'm as a coach in martial arts and CrossFit. Well, I'm just trying them to be better exercising, to try to live a more healthy and disciplined lifestyle. And when I go to work, I try to explain to everyone work is not everything in life, but when you're there, you have to put your effort and try to spend time with your family or someone that you love. So as you see, little by little, in my current case with Cheryl and my girls, I'm trying to be the best example that I can. So Cheryl and I can be a good couple that people can see and can imitate to become better than what they are now, or and maybe they can even give us some feedback and we can become better. We can also give a good example to the girls how to behave, how to eat, how to be good at sports, how to find a passion about to do things, how to do the hard stuff because it's necessary. Understand that life is not just rainbows and unicorns. That would be cool. Next episode, we talk about unicorns and dragons. Okay? But yes, that's what you want. Wow, we became like a very deep conversation today. Monologue. But well, that's how life is. So I'm happy that I have time to record today's episode because I was this close to not be able to. I know that it seems like I just mumbo jumbo a lot of things, but well, that this is how it is. And we can close the episode with an idea that I had and then I share with a lot of people. That it's better to know a lot of useless stuff than not knowing anything. Peace.